The plane landed in Kenya on the way to South Africa. In some ways, it's interesting that South Africa was the apparently final destination, considering South Africa is one of the most pro-Palestine countries on the planet, certainly after it tried to push for a case in the International Criminal Court against Israel for crimes of genocide. There are so many weird unanswered questions about this. The website for the company itself is incredibly strange, almost created by AI. The faces, there's not really any names, there's no any associations. So it's hard not to think of this, and I've done a lot of work over the years around disaster capitalism, the concept of people making money from others' misery, and this has very much the flavour of that, outrageously. On the one hand, it's not surprising that many Palestinians, and you're one of the Palestinians who left, said he had no desire to leave Gaza, which is what my Palestinian friends from Gaza have said as well for years. However, the situation there is so horrific, with no real chance of rebuilding for so much of Gaza. So people wanting to leave is understandable if you're a Palestinian who's been through the last 2 years. I see it as a form of ethnic cleansing. I don't begrudge for a second the Palestinians who want to leave. I begrudge the organisers of this trip, and we shouldn't forget throughout all this, Israel has never given up the idea of clearing Gaza and frankly the West Bank of Palestinians. That goal has never changed, even with a supposed ceasefire, which Israel keeps breaking day after day. That's the thing that worries me here. That you have desperate Palestinians, and I've seen this in other conflicts, who are looking for a better life. I've seen this in Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere in the last 20 years. People deserve a better life. I have no resentment of people who want that. The issue is people who are providing this in the Israeli state, facilitating it. A state that openly still many ministers in the Israeli government, and frankly in the Israeli public, want no Palestinians in Gaza left. And this is, I fear, part of that mission. Israel has never given up on the idea of emptying Palestinians from Palestine. You saw that in many, many statements from the Israeli government going back decades, to empty Palestinians from both the West Bank and Gaza, and frankly Israel itself. And that mission or that desire is not ended because the supposed ceasefire is in place. In fact, the so-called plan of what Israel wants to do in Gaza, and backed, I fear, by too many in the Arab Muslim world and the US and others, is a quasi-indefinite occupation of Gaza. That's essentially what's being proposed. And the idea of forcibly removing Palestinians or giving them essentially no choice but to leave is exactly what Israel has wanted. We've just seen the West Bank for the last 2 years. Since October 7, huge amounts of Palestinians and Bedouins being displaced. That is on steroids at the moment, and I fear that this plan is only going to contribute to that in Gaza as well.